Good morning, everybody. Jay the Silent Photographer here, waking up and doing another daily map. It's very early today. It's like 7:30 in the morning. I just have a mood to draw a map. I'm gonna go with a continent map today. But before I do that, I do want to really quickly. I just want to generate something, and then I want to change the water texture to imagination. Uh, So this is the land, this is the water. It actually looks like the opposite of what I want. I just don't like that water texture. Uh, no, 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 no. You know, there's not many good water styles either in what's it's called. It's coastline style, regular band. Let me zoom in really quickly. Hmm. See, I'm trying to think. There's the setting that I was looking for. Coastal FX difference. I wanted to make a bit more of a unique. So we're just gonna crank this, then we're gonna look at the. No, no, maybe, but no, no. Three-tiered is what I use when I hand draw maps, but that doesn't look exactly like what I want. If I were to change this though to a different water type, would it? Which one did I enjoy? I enjoyed. I enjoyed imagination. And if I did this, no. Uh, Certainly not. Certainly not. You know, I think it has to be worn. And then we change the landmass outline color to black. And then that gives a really distinct look to it. I like that. And if I mess with the coastline color a little bit, I'm going to make it blue so it doesn't flash super hard. I'm going to make it a lighter blue so that the deeper the water seems to be darker the blue. So we do something like that, it just doesn't quite look like what I imagine. Something a little bit lighter. There we go. Vignette strength on the sides of the map. This will be an interesting little way to do it. Just maybe brown that a little bit. And we can come back and we can go ahead and change this stuff after we after we finish the map a little bit. But now that we have our settings done, let's go back to the land generator. Oops. I've hidden the land. And we are going to make a continent. We're going to generate, we're going to play with the water level. I think somewhere out there. I want something a bit bigger than that. Is that what I'm going to go with today? No. I do feel bad that the first half of this is just making the or deciding the. I think we're gonna go with this one. I do feel bad that the first half of the video is just deciding which map to do, which map to use. But I think that's an important step of map making is choosing a shape for a continent, even if that shape is. I mean, of course, if I were to sit down and I were to make an actual map, and let me just bring my microphone a little bit closer so you can actually hear me. If I was going to make a real map, if I was going to sit down and spend time doing it, I would hand draw the. See, that's a little bit annoying. as the oh wait, maybe the outline blend is what I'm looking for here. Yeah, that is what I'm looking for. It's absolutely what I'm looking for. But like right here, this brown, I wish I could get rid of that brown without getting rid of the effects, because I could by putting this like that, but then it loses all the detail in the water, which is what I wanted the coastline for in the first place. Maybe if I change the okay, so that excuse me, I have something stuck in my throat today. That is something that is changeable with the color, but if I don't have it at black or at least a very dark brown, you lose that orange. So I guess the next question would be if I grab the paintbrush tool and I go to land and I go to the land paintbrush tool, not the water paintbrush tool. And if I paint that as forest, is it still black? And the answer is, yeah, kinda. And that kind of sucks. Oops. Landmass outline color black. But it's just something we're gonna have to deal with. It is just something we are going to have to deal with. And so today I would like to try something just a little bit different. Normally I have a very specific process when I build my map. I start by getting the outline, then I add the color to add the biomes, so like a forest up here, lighter forest down here, grassland over here, etc. And then I add mountains. I go into the mountain tool and I add like a mountain range here, add a mountain range here, add a mountain range here, then I little mountains, then I make hills. If you guys have seen the previous 5 videos in the series, 4 videos in the series, you know that about me already. And then of course I go to trees, I do trees, and then I do rivers, and then I do lakes. But today I want to try something completely different. I want to start by putting down roads. I'm going to start by building a kingdom on this map, and then I'm gonna do a different style of map. I'm gonna do a style of map that maybe I'm not too comfortable with. But before we do that, well, I really like the coastline, actually. I really like the coastline on this map. Something I'm not a fan of is all these tiny little... Oops, that's definitely not what we want to do. We want to raise, or we want to paint the land, not delete it. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to take all of these little bumps away. We're just going to smooth that right out. And so to that end, I actually think that we have some kingdoms to place. We have some symbols and roads that we would place here on this map. So let's go ahead and go to our symbols tab, and the question is, do we want to do dots or do we want to do physical shapes? And I mean, normally I do physical shapes, and maybe tomorrow I'll do something with dots, but today I'm gonna see if I can't make these a little bit more, there we are, a little bit more visible. And so we will have like a capital city, and we'll just put this down somewhere important. You know, I'm gonna go back on it again. I'm not gonna use the capital first, because doing my capital first always screws me over. So maybe we have a kingdom there. That's still not opaque enough, so we're gonna crank the opacity down, make it solid black. Okay, so we're gonna have one up here, we're gonna have one over here, we're gonna have like 1, 2, 3 over here, 1 over here, 1, 2 over here, and then we are gonna have a port in this bay over here. So we're gonna have a city right, we wanna go back to 65, which is the magic number here. We're gonna go right there. And then now we're going to make some roads. We're going to go to paths. We're going to go this path. And I've been using this path pretty exclusively. So we're gonna try a different path today. We're going to try... Although, of course, now that I say that, none of them are really jumping out to me. But maybe we'll do a standard line. We'll once again go with a maroon, because I like the maroon. It shows up really well on the land. And it clashes with the black just enough to make it look different, but it doesn't blend into the background. We're gonna increase the width to 7 and see if that's about what I'm looking for. Yeah, that's about what I'm looking for. And we are gonna start connecting locations. We're gonna make this a little bit rougher. And the important part is that these roads are not straight, and you'll see why in the next step that it's important. And you know, maybe that's too rough. Maybe actually we want way less roughness. Maybe we want this to be. Maybe we want this to be a much smoother set of roads because these are. Yeah, let's do something like that. Excuse me. You know, I'm not a fan of that actually. I think that. You know, I try my best to not use straight lines whenever possible because it bothers me. It makes it feel less real to me if there's straight lines everywhere. But I think in this map in particular, straight lines are kind of important. Because that looks a little bit off to me. So we're just going to add little curves, little bends here and there. But for the most part, we are going to make straight lines. Because oftentimes when you're drawing a map by hand, if this is a hand-drawn map, the people who give your adventurers these maps will probably have hand-drawn them. They probably won't have... Oh, God. It's probably slightly annoying that I keep coughing into the microphone. I'm horrendously sorry about that. I think one of my dog's hairs got down in my throat while I was sleeping last night. She has a bad habit of sleeping on my head. And that happens sometimes. So I'm looking at this and... Does this look correct? Does this look accurate? And I think actually we have to add a couple of more cities. I think we have to add something down here. I think we have to add something over here. I think we have to add something up here. And then I think I know for a fact that that area right in the middle is the capital. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to drop that capital symbol in right there. We're going to go back to the path symbol. We're going to grab our paths and we are going to continue. Maybe this is coming off of that. Clipping just a little bit, just like that. This place can lead to here. I suddenly have an urge to put another one. Put another one right down here, or maybe over here, because this bay area here would be a very useful area for trade. Certainly so. Oh, excuse me. And then, so we go to paths, we go to this path, and then we go, maybe this path is how that happens. I'm not a huge fan of the fact that that's just a square. I think that's, I think squares are evil shapes when it comes to map making. I think squares are evil shapes when it comes to map making. And so we're gonna select one of these and we're gonna delete it and we're gonna have a reason for that, and it's gonna be this one. Maybe there's a mountain range that comes right down here, and it cuts this off. Okay, so we've got our roads. We've got all of our cities laid out. So now we're going to go back to the land and we're going to add the paintbrush tool, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to add something. We're going to add color to our map, and I'm going to start actually with some snow. I think that this area up here is snowing. I think that that's snowing, and I think that this area up here, we can blend some of that snow in up there. As always, with a more temperate climate, I like to use a darker green for my forest, so I'm going to go and add a nice darker green. We're just going to lightly brush that on, move into these planes over here. I'm going to keep that going like this. We're going to push that up like that. And then we're going to grab a slightly lighter green, not too much lighter, and then we're going to start to blend. As we go down here, we're going to start to blend this green in. Eventually, before you even know it, that's
a forest green. It's not a plains green anymore. And then we're gonna grab our favorite green and we're just gonna paint that in like that. Perfect. And I'm gonna grab some dry grass color here, some beige. And we're just gonna paint that on all the way down here. I'm gonna go up to the forest color that I used for this. I'm just gonna darken it. Make it look green, because right now it looks a bit brown. I'm gonna make it look a bit green. And then this unfortunately looks a bit static, looks a bit uniform, and so the way that we do that is we cut the opacity and we just kind of blend harder. Woo! This recording's a mess. This recording is a mess. So we're gonna add that color down there. We might add a splash of color down here. And just like that, I think that looks really good. I think that looks like an interesting color job that we've done up here. I want to grab the forest color that I used up here again because I see some spots of lower opacity. Just want to really sell the fact that this is darker green. I'm going to grab the dark forest that I used up at the top, and I'm just going to reinforce that maybe this area is an even darker green than it was previously. Really give that separation. And I'm going to go back to the grassland color, and I'm going to maybe even choose a darker one. And I'm going to paint a little bit of darker grass color here. And so basically we have the tundra up here, we have the temperate climate over here, and then we have the more normal climate that you would find in here, and then you have slightly more arid, getting a bit warmer as you get down towards the equator. And so there we go. And then I want to add an overlay. Right, you can add it to water only because that's what I wanted. I want to shrink its size down to something like maybe 75. Crank the line width down because I don't want it to be overpowering. And I actually want to drop the opacity a little bit and just drop it as just like that. Just give the illusion that there is a grid underneath here, just to add some interest to the background. We're going to go to symbols. I'm going to add compass rose, which means, of course, we have to drop this to jet black. We have to drop this to jet black, and then we can go ahead and add our compass. Let's see what would make sense for this map. That doesn't look bad, but not exactly what I had in mind. We used this one yesterday, and I don't think that one really fits. It's a nice standard one, but maybe you're looking for something a little bit less standard. You know, maybe we do use this compass here. Maybe we stamp that on right down in the corner there. There we are. Oh, that wasn't even the corner. See? Mistakes happen all the time. Alright, so actually we should make that a little bit bigger then if it's not monopolizing. And then let's actually also, while we're here, let's add a scale overlay. And we'll create a scale overlay right here, and I'm going to move it into place into an area that I think. Actually, you know, we'll use the tiles as scale reference here. We'll use the tiles as scale reference. Segment distance. I don't know if there's a way to match grid. That would be a fantastic option for Wonder Draft to have, would be to match grid. Oh, oops, that was not what I wanted. We want it to be 100 miles per square. We want there to be 5 segments is fine, and then the line width is just how thick that is. This width is what we want to manipulate. So it's 256 right now. We're going to go 350. We're going to see if that does what we want it to, which is to match up with this. No, it doesn't. It's probably going to be like 363 or something, maybe. Just eyeballing it, and you know, that's pretty darn close. Not quite there, though. Maybe 370. Maybe 370. So close. I don't really want to even go too much higher in this. Yeah, 374, that's near perfect. So we can go ahead and we can drag this over now to the compass rose, and we can say, hey, this is our scale. Scale is 100 miles per grid, which also means that our new measurement tool will now work. Which, I mean, it doesn't if you're if we're doing that. Oh, and I deleted my compass rose. Redo. So we are going to use using map scale units. We're going to learn that it's 400 miles to the capital city, and again, one of the important things to know with a map this large is that, of course, it's going to be 400, 500 miles, but the human body can do amazing things. And actually, I used to have a calculator for this. But let me just Google how far can a human travel in a day. A trained walker can walk 20 to 30 miles a day, which means that this distance would then take a human over 10 days to complete. And then if you have a horse, how far can a horse travel in a day? Modern endurance rides cover 100 miles that need to be completed in less than 24 hours. And so, if you have the food and you have the infrastructure for it, a horse could travel that time in maybe 4 or 5 days, which is about right, honestly. And again, with cities on maps, if you look up real references to cities in medieval Europe, fantasy settings, etc., you'll learn very quickly that there were hundreds of cities and settlements. So there can be little way gaps in this where you go and you find a town. But putting that on this type of map will just clutter it, and we don't want clutter. We do not want clutter. So, symbols. It's time to finally add some mountains. Let's try and find ones that we enjoy to look up. Let's do some comparisons. Those aren't bad. There's always the El Classic. These ones right here. There's these right here. There's, of course, these hunking behemoths right here, which I know for a fact I'm not going to use. Although I might use those rocky hills. So yeah, it looks like we have these as an option, and you know what? I think I'm actually going to use... Were these the ones that, No, those are too uniform. Were these the ones that I saw, I've never used these mountains either. And you know, they don't really fit the style, so maybe today is not the day that I use them either, but I think I'm gonna go with these mountains right here. And we're gonna make our mountain range. We're going to set the scale of our map with our mountains. How you set the scale of a map is by using your mountain ranges. Because if your mountain range looks like this, then anybody who looks at your map would be like, "Wow, okay, well this is a zoomed in map." But if your mountains are like this, then you'll think, "Wow, this map is huge. It's expansive. It's very large," and so there's different feels based on scale. So let's do maybe something like that for scale. Maybe something like that for scale, and then we're gonna go all the way down to here. We're gonna add these cliffs, these mountains. They're gonna kind of curve up over to here. We're gonna switch to our smaller mountains. And actually, you know what I wanted to use for this is actually these little hills, which they're kind of like rockier hills that I noticed when we were making a different map that I was not aware of. I think this was added in the last patch, and so we're going to use these funky hills, these little rocky hills. I think these are going to look awesome. They are looking awesome, so I'm very happy about that. And then I'm going to go back with my normal foothills. I'm going to shrink them down even further, and I'm just gonna pepper this area. And when you're zoomed out, you can barely see them, but that's fine. That's fine. When you're exporting in 1080p, let's see, what would this actually look like? It would look like this, which these hills will just give a slight semblance of something more here other than what you are looking at. Say that there's something going on around there, so that's always good. That's always good. Okay, now up to the forest. And the forest on this map is something that I'm going to add more mountains, but I wanted to add a forest really quickly. There's a style of forest in map making where you crank the placement rate, you crank the public placement density, and you make a very uniform ball of forest, and you color it all the way in. And I've never actually been a huge fan of that style, so it's not a style that I've been practicing. That being said, I do want to try it, so let's actually go in here. really quickly, and I am going to use paths to just give myself a little bit of working area here. So we're gonna go there to there, we're gonna go there to there, we're gonna go there to there, we're gonna go there to there. Perfect. So then we are going to go ahead and we're gonna go back to symbols. We're gonna grab trees and we're just gonna, oops. We'll we'll deal with that later, but we're gonna just crank these in there. And actually, I think I'm gonna use these trees instead. I think these fit better for what it is that I am trying to do. And we're just gonna get the main shape down because the placement spread of these is a little bit obnoxiously large. So if I click over here, you can see them popping up maybe in places I don't want them, and it's fine, but it's just something you have to pay attention to. Oop, that's NVIDIA GeForce Now. That's not what I'm looking for at all. Let's see. Okay, so placement rate, we're gonna place this way lower, and that means that what's gonna happen is it's only gonna place when I click, or it's gonna be the butthole and place it anyway where I don't want to place it. But I think that's just because of the way the plant generator works, is it's trying to place two trees at once to try and help me, but little does it know. In this particular instance, that doesn't help me. That very much makes things annoying. There we go. We've got our little forest here. We've got our woodlands, and then I just kind of want to go around the outside and make it a little bit less uniform. Make it a little bit more random, because a giant chunk of trees does not look good. Then we're going to go right back to paths. We're going to grab the path selection tool, and we are going to delete the 4 paths that we used to rein this in. And as we zoom out, you can see, oh, hey, there's a forest there. Symbols, we're going to grab this miscreant of a tree. We're going to move it down here. We're going to move this guy up. We're going to move this guy in. And then we're going to have to add another one of these areas, and I think it's going to be down here. Like, this whole area is going to be forest, and then maybe this whole area will have a more traditionally done forest, and then up here will be forest. But, I mean, part of these maps is they're very open. Like, you'll have big wooded area, and then nothing, and then big wooded area, and then nothing. And so maybe that's the way that we do this. But now that we've filled that in, we're going to go ahead back to symbols, we're going to go back to trees, and we are just going to, let's try and figure out the way that we want to do this. And yeah, so okay, so if I change the placement density, it gets rid of the issue that I had with placing more trees than I had bargained for. So we're gonna move this up to here. We're gonna make this go right down the coastline, just like that. And then this is the tedious and annoying part of it. But you know, so what? So if it's a little bit tedious, so what if it's a bit annoying? We're gonna make an awesome map that our players are gonna love, that we're gonna love, that's gonna be great for our book or passion project. And you know, you can't really be mad about that fact. You can't really be mad about the fact that you made something awesome, even if that something took you a very long time to make. Even if at times something that you make is like frustrating to make. Sometimes it's very important that you acknowledge that it's frustrating to make, but at the same time you acknowledge that even though it was frustrating, it was worth it to do that. Because it taught you a lot, or because it was, in the end, it was exactly what you wanted it to be. It was awesome. It was pretty. Sometimes the greatest achievements we have in our life are the things that we really didn't want to do. You know, now that I'm doing this by hand, this is looking way better than it is up here. So I'm going to give myself carpal tunnel syndrome here for a couple minutes and just click these trees down. And so you're in for a wild ride. And I've realized now, as I've I've recorded 5 of these videos, that You know, probably 95% of even the tabletop gaming community will not watch these videos. They'll find them boring. They'll find them too long. They'll find them not informative enough. But you know, I like making them. They're easy. They only take me an hour a day, and it's an hour a day that I can be creative and I can do something. That I can do something good for myself, which is to express myself through arts and explaining my process and doing a series where I make a different map every day, like a genuinely different map every day, has led me to make a lot of things that I'd never tried before. It's led me to think outside the box in ways that I have not previously done when it comes to cartography, and that is making me a better artist. So, you know, this is looking freaking awesome. I love the way that this forest is looking. So I might delete this whole forest and redo it this way, because this is the way to do this. Single clicks at a time, just like break it up into a section and click down some trees. And this is gonna be a thing. So yeah, we're gonna delete this because I'm now in love with how to do this. I figured out a solution that works for me. And I'm going to use that solution to solve my problem. My problem being that there's not enough trees. Of course, I'm going to zoom out after this, and it's going to look awful, and I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, you know, maybe not, but hey. It's about the journey. And what better journey than clicking down 10,000 trees at 7 in the morning? Now 8 in the morning. 8:19. Happy 8, everybody. Happy 8. Hope it's a good one. Hopefully most of you are still asleep. I don't know why I'm awake. I spent the majority of yesterday playing video games. I play a massively multiplayer online role-playing game called Final Fantasy XIV, and there was just a new content patch added, which added some more of the story that I absolutely love, and I am not ashamed to admit that I was ugly crying through the back half of that. And so I was emotionally drained, and I went to bed at like 8 p.m., like the old man that I am, so. But that's okay. Sometimes you just need a day to chill. Sometimes you just need a day to play video games, cry about characters you followed for 5 years, and, yeah. Sometimes that's just your day. Nothing wrong with that. But that did lead me to waking up at like 4 in the morning. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. That looks amazing. Okay. Well, with newfound vigor, let's continue this nightmare of a process here, and let's add this border down to over here as well. And you know, I'm actually gonna expand this a little bit. I want it to be a little bit closer to the road. Yeah, sometimes it's a good day to just be emotionally vulnerable for a little while. Let your minds wander, think about the past, the future, the things you've done, the things you're going to do. I think that days like that are important, and I feel very sad that a lot of people, especially men, have a lot of trouble having those days. And it took me many years to realize that it was okay to have those kind of days. And so I'm here to tell you that it's okay to have those kind of days where you just sit there and you either have a good cry, or you think about your emotions, you think about how things in the world make you feel, and you try and remedy if that's what you want to feel at that time, if that's how you want to feel at that moment. You know, with everything going on in the world right now, especially in the United States where I live, there's a lot of turmoil, there's a lot of anxiety, and as somebody who has very bad anxiety, it's I've had many a day where I sit down and I think and I say, hey, am I anxious today because I've been reading the news? Do I need to take a couple of days where I just don't read the news because it's doing bad things to me? And the answer is oftentimes, yes, you do have to take a couple of days away from the news to calm down, to get a new perspective, maybe talk to some people with some different viewpoints, and then after those couple of days you can come back to it and you can engage in politics or activism, and you can have a new, fresh mindset that's not nearly as self-destructive, because I mean, it's a real big problem that people have, is that when you're angry, you don't make smart decisions, and when you're very passionate about something, that passion can oftentimes be like spark an anger within you. And so I think that the best activism is done in the heat of the moment, you have this anger and you go and you do something awesome, like the amazing Black Lives Matter movement that just swept through the entire nation. But I think then after that, it's very important to decompress, to go back to your home, to go back to your loved ones, your family, your friends, and to take a moment to clear your head, to calm down, not to forget what happened, but to not be 100% on the gas. And then maybe after a couple days, come back to it. Maybe go and talk to somebody who might have a different view than you, or who does have the same view as you. And then those conversations after the storm, can often lead to change. Because change is not a violent thing. Change that is born through violence is very rarely permanent. It's very often temporary, explosive, painful. But change that is the change that happens slowly over time, that has that's gradual, is much more likely to be long lasting and effective. And so taking time after a large movement to clear your head, to talk to each other, to talk to other people who maybe don't think the way that you do, and then to figure out what you can do as a person to better the cause that you're working for. So, like, it's the protests are fantastic. I love the protests, and if I felt like I was in a capacity to go and join them, I certainly would have at the time. But I think that the more important thing now is to find a path forward that involves changing the atrocities that led to those riots in the first place. And I think that that comes from being involved in local politics. And I mean, I'm ashamed to admit that I'm not involved in local politics. I don't vote in my local elections and my town elections. I don't go to town meetings. I don't go to hearings. And so I can't expect there to be any change because I don't do anything. But could you imagine a world where everybody who came to protest, instead of coming to protest, went to their local town hall that's held every month, where the governor of your city or of your state gives a speech and talks about what they want to do to change things. Could you imagine if everybody who went to the BLM movement went to one of those and started voicing their concerns and becoming involved in politics, and if even half of the people who came out to riot voted, then we could really do some good. We could really change a lot of the world, and I think that will happen. I think there will be a large amount of voter turnout this year compared to others, but as I said, decisions made in anger are not want for lasting change. They're not going to change the world. What we have to do is we have to consistently do better, and the way that we can do better is we can use the tools provided to us, which is the voting system that our democracy offers us. And I mean, there are parties at work, there are people at work to make that harder. However, I wholeheartedly believe that we have the power right now to make long-lasting, passionate, and important change, and that is essential for the human race going forward into 2021, and especially America. The world is looking at us right now, and we're not looking too good. So we have to get those young people out to vote. I mean, I say those young people. I'm only 26, so I can't really call everyone young people. But I mean, it's no secret that like 60% of our population votes. The other 40% of people doesn't. For eligible voters, and that's just kind of a tragedy, because we have so many people who are upset about the situation that America is in. But to those people, I would say, well, you know, the people who are passionately opposed to your beliefs are passionate enough to vote, and those votes put us in this situation right now. I know that with Bernie Sanders dropping out of the race in 2016, a lot of his followers, and I know this because I know a lot of his followers, said that they were either not going to vote or they were going to vote for Trump instead of Clinton because they didn't agree with the Democratic convention scorning Bernie Sanders. And, you know, I understand the frustration there. But that was a move made in anger. That was a snap decision made in anger, and anger does not beget progress. Anger hinders progress. And now when you look where we are with the state, how far we've fallen in the last couple of years, it's abundant and clear to see that that we need to change the way that we fundamentally work on things here in this country. Um, and I think that this year is going to be the year where that happens, or where the United States takes a very dark and unfortunate turn. But that conversation's a lot like drinking lead. I said I said that I do this to stop my anxiety about the world around me, but I think it's important to have these conversations too. I think that there's room for both, and we're almost done with these trees. Oh my God, they've really come together in the, I think, 20 minutes I've been rambling about politics, which I'm sure has gotten more than a few of the 0 people who watch these videos to close the video and to say, hey, screw this guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's talking about politics. I don't want to talk about politics. Well, maybe we need to talk about politics. Maybe learning about politics will help you in your D&D campaign. If you're a dungeon master and you don't follow politics, then the intrigue in your games will be markedly less than what it would be if you allowed yourself to. Like, there's 2 amazingly, they're terrifying books. They're books by a man named Robert Greene, I believe. They're called The 33 Laws of War and The 48 Laws of Power. And I have dubbed these books the Sociopath's Handbook, because if you follow the advice in these books, they will destroy you. They teach you business practices and legislative practices that will and have, because these are all based on real world examples, they will help you gain and hold power over people, but they will leave you lonely, broken, angry, paranoid. They're disgusting books. They're disgusting books if you go into them with the intention of following them. However, if you go into them with the intention of learning from them, they can be an amazing resource for dungeon masters. And so I recommend them to dungeon masters. Very tentatively, I recommend them to dungeon masters because they can make you write better villains, but it also opens your eyes to a lot of the tragic truth of the world we currently live in. And it can be hard to read for some people. It can be, and that's okay. It's okay for something to be hard for you to do. It's okay to not do something because you don't connect with it or you find it distasteful. That's completely fine. That's completely normal. To not like something because there's a piece of content inside of it that you don't agree with. Don't feel bad about that. But also at the same time, don't take that away from somebody else if they happen to enjoy it. At the end of the day, you don't have enough time to worry about what everyone else does. You only have enough time in the day to worry about what you do. I think we are almost done with these trees. Yeah, this is going to definitely be the longest Silo Cartographer video. This is probably going to be like an 1.5 hour long map at this rate. Look at this. But, I mean, this is good, because, again, I've never done a style of map like this before. It's always been something I've looked at and said, yeah, I don't really like that style. But sitting here and doing it and attaching myself to this map is a creative process. It's, there's a therapy to this. There's a very real... I'm kind of just in a trance right now. I haven't even really thought about what I'm doing. My brain just knows it's supposed to be putting down trees, and good God, it's going to put down those trees. And we've got all this area up here that's nice and big and foresty. We've got the mountains here that are holding back the trees. We're going to put some plains down. We're going to add some more forest. So yes, we're not quite done. Look at that! Look at that! That looks so good! And then there's just going to be a few more over here and we're done with this forest. Probably not what you wanted to hear, dear viewer. You probably wanted to say, oh God, well, sorry Jay, maybe I can't watch the rest of this. Maybe I can't finish this video because you're taking too long. You've drawn a forest for 40 minutes. How dare you? How dare I? You're correct. How dare I? Look at that. Look at how great that looks. A big forest right there. So let's see, where else are we going to put forest? I think down here. I think down here we're gonna have another. We're gonna have to figure out another philosophical conversation to have as we're. Maybe I can speed this up. Maybe now that I know the process a little bit better, maybe I can somehow, desperately somehow speed this up, so that you are not sitting here and watching me do this. I mean, if I was smart, which we all know that I'm not, I would throw this into Premiere and I would speed this process up. But I think that would be disingenuous to what this series is, which is me sitting down every day and making a new map. And you know, could I be doing something more worth my time right now than clicking trees? Well, of course I could. Of course I could. But in all reality, you know, actually, now that I'm gonna save really quickly, and you know, I'm also going to menu save as really quickly. And the reason I'm gonna do that is because recently I had a map be corrupted that I'd spent a lot of time working on, and it corrupted the file. So I just saved, and then I changed the name of the file. I saved again. And so, even if Wonderdraft decides to screw me and delete my map, as the program is wont to do because our machine overlords are not the kindest, I will have a backup because I've outsmarted our machine overlords. So let's go ahead and let's add these trees. I wonder if there's a way to see how many symbols I have down. I wonder how many trees are in this map. Maybe somebody's counting. Maybe some absolutely crazy person has loaded up this video and said, you know, I'm going to count the number of trees he puts down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Takes too much brain power to count while I'm clicking this. The trance would be broken if I were to count the trees. The trick to doing this and not losing your sanity, which I've learned a lot in my work as a 3D modeler, is don't think, if you can help it. When you have to do these really tedious things, whether it's setting 1,000 keyframes or placing 1,000 trees, one of the best things you can do is train your muscle memory to the point where your brain doesn't have to dedicate a lot of RAM to to doing it, and then you can use your thinking power to maybe do literally anything else during this process. And so here, talking has become my brain's new way of distracting itself from what it's actually doing, which is a very mundane, simplistic, and repetitive task. And we're gonna go up here. We're gonna curve these around this settlement here. I'm jealous of these guys. I'm genuinely jealous. I want to see this forest. This forest seems really nice. Could you imagine if Earth still had forests like these? To go right back to depressing politics. Although, see, I grew up in the suburbs of Massachusetts and Vermont and Maine, and New England is a very beautiful place. Tons and tons of forests. We used to go to Vermont. We used to go skiing and snowboarding in Vermont. And Vermont was so beautiful, and it felt like this to me. Like this city right here, or this town right here, feels like where I was in Vermont, where it was just houses in trees. And we lived in a little tourist trap of a town. Because fortunately my family was well off enough to have a little vacation home. It was nothing special, and honestly, as I've grown up and as I've talked to my mother about it, that was a financial disaster. That house. It was like an old A-frame in a skiing town, like a vacation town. We bought it with the idea that we would use it, and we did use it. We got some great use. It was right on a lake, a beautiful lake. We had a kayak, although I was terrified of the water. Water is one of my greatest phobias, is like open water. Pools are fine, but like the ocean and the big lakes are very scary to me. But yeah, we had a wonderful house on a wonderful lake. And, well, we bought it with the intention of going skiing, and then maybe renting it out to other people while we were not there, and that never happened. So we wound up taking a big loss, and we had a lot of problems with that house. The pipes froze every winter, and one winter they burst, and I didn't know what that meant as a kid, but as an adult who's had to deal with some home issues, some home maintenance problems. That's a very scary thing, is especially because we weren't there when it burst. That we had a flood in our basement that dealt a lot of damage to the. I mean, luckily we had a great carpenter who built a staircase in our house who was willing to look after it. So when we weren't there and the thaw came for the spring, we said, hey, could you look for anything that might have happened, anything wrong that might have happened? And he said, of course I'll look if there's anything wrong with your home. And he went and he said, hey guys, a pipe burst. You've got an emergency here. Do you want me to take care of it? We said, of course we want you to take care of it. And so he did. And he fixed everything up. He got a plumber in. And I mean, that's something I miss about that Vermont house more than anything, is the people were so different from anywhere else that I had grown up. It was a poor rural town. It was a tourist trap. It was there for its ski resort. There's a very large ski resort right there, which I'm not going to name for privacy reasons. But it was a large ski resort, and this town basically existed to service that resort. And then for the other, like, 8 or 9 months of the year when there wasn't snow on the mountain, it was a tourist town. It was just a place that you could go, or it was just dead. There was one supermarket in the whole town. There was like a supermarket and a bowling alley, and then a whole bunch of businesses that were closed 3/4 of the year. And I always thought that was a very interesting way to live. But what that did to the people who lived there was to foster the sense of community that I've yet to see again in anybody who I've met. And so when the pipes burst in this house that belonged to this well-off family, this rich family who never lives there, who only comes there when it's ski season, who, if I was living there and I was jaded about it, I would say it was probably like the problem with our town, is those pesky tourists who always come in and wreck things up every winter. I mean, that would have been my reaction, but no, these people, they rallied, and they were able to get electricians and plumbers and every season. And yes, they were getting paid for it, so I guess that does sweeten the deal. But I'd like to think it was because they were very kind people, and they truly were very kind people, that they were able to come together and fix all these homes that had these damages. I think it's also because of their perspective. Let's just crack my knuckles really quickly. Their perspective lent them to a sense of empathy that most people wouldn't have. If you're living in an area where you maybe don't have enough money, you're acutely aware that if a pipe bursts and your basement floods, or if your porch falls down in a storm, or if something bad happens to your home, then that can irreparably and permanently damage your family. And so that sense of community, that sense of we're all in this together, if we can help everybody, then we're all happier for it, kind of emanated from that community. And they were always just so nice. They were so willing to do things. Everyone knew everyone else. And I mean, yeah, there were some bad eggs, sure, but there's always bad eggs. Can't let that spoil the good that came from it. And you know, we're almost done with this forest now too. I promise. We've only placed 10,000 trees. It's only been another 14 minutes since the last time I brought up how many times we've clicked these trees. We've got a tree blinking in and out of existence up here. I don't know what that's all about, but let's go ahead and give a save, because we're asking Wonderdraft a lot here. We're saying, hey Wonderdraft, keep track of 2,000 trees, 3,000 trees, probably far more than that. Probably far, far more than that, clicking like this for 50 minutes. let's see, probably 3 clicks per second. So that'd be 60 times 3. 6 times 3 is 18. So it's 180 clicks per minute multiplied by like 25, 30. So 120 times 3, or 12 times 3, would be 24, 36. So 3,600 trees, give or take, if that was in fact how many that was. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we are just going to do this. We're going to add just a little bit of... I don't know why those trees sometimes like blink in and out of blink in and out of existence down there, but we're just going to add some more trees here, and we're just going to add a little bit of a taper, a bit of a fade, and if we zoom out, oh my god, it's beautiful. And actually, my idea of what to do over here was not beautiful. It's not good. I think that the idea was sound. This is nice. Having this little edge of the forest here that kind of gives the idea that maybe it tapers off into plains. But we do not need these trees. These trees only detract from our map. Never remove them. Just like that, we have most of the map completely plastered in forest. And then I think we're going to add one more. I think we're going to do a smaller one. We're going to do a little pine forest up here. And then we're going to find something to do with over here. But before we do that, I do want to add some more mountains. I believe I used these mountains. Yes, I did. So I want to add just another row of them coming down out of the snowy peaks, down through the pine forest that we're going to make up here, and down along this little side mountain here. We're going to grab our little accent mountains that all look the same, unfortunately, because this stamp is just not all stamps are created equal. And we've got our hills coming out of that. And there we go. We're going to go back to our mini mounts. We're going to up the placement rate and the placement density. We're going to get rid of that because that doesn't look very natural, very normal. I hate hate's probably the wrong word for it, but like, because these mountains are shaded on the other side as these mountains are, so I can't use the better smaller mountains, so we're just gonna have to shrink down the big ones, and then maybe, yeah, there we go. Make a little bit of a U, make a little bit of a ring right here, just like that. And there's just some sort of beauty about the very formulaic trees and then the very natural looking mountains, and I'm a fan. I am a big fan of this map, and I didn't think I would be. I was almost dreading the map today because I knew from yesterday I got the inspiration to do a map like this because I saw one over on the Wonderdraft subreddit that was amazing, but that, I don't know, I never appreciated this style of map, and I think I'm going to start appreciating it a lot more. And you know, maybe while I'm here, water, there's a lake right here. That seems like a very obvious place for a lake to be. Although I'm not a huge fan of the fact that I can see the grid underneath this lake. Is there if I paint water, yeah, it just goes right through to the other side. Water. Whoa. Set that back to 0 before we screw something up real bad. Water saturation. Yeah, I actually think desaturating that a little bit would be nice, and then increasing the value, and then the coastline has almost a glow to it. That looks really cool. Stain amount. Ooh, yeah, look at that. That looks so cool. That looks so cool. I love that. Yeah, let's go with that. And then, see, that just doesn't fit though. The water on land just doesn't fit. And so even though it's the freshwater brush, it doesn't change, it just punches right through. So maybe we break all the rules and we don't even put water on our map. Symbols, though, we got to get back to the trees. Hopefully I didn't lose my mojo. Hopefully I can get back to clicking trees. Let's slam that placement density back down to 0, and let's grab our pine tree stencil and let's start tracing out some trees. And we're in the home stretch here. I think we're gonna go just down to about here, and we're gonna go straight across into the Control Z by accident there. That's not what my intended was. That's what my intended was, not what my intention was. Then up into the frozen tundras. You know, the other tree style, I think, was much more conducive to this because it was a bit more varied in its shape. Although, actually, what would this look like? No, that just doesn't fit. I like these pill trees, and maybe one day we'll do an entire map based on pill trees, or I guess what I call pill trees. I don't know what they're actually called. I do not know what they're actually called. But pill trees sounds right. You know, we're gonna make a whole map on pill trees. Because I want to learn how to use them properly. And the only way to learn how to use them properly is to use them improperly until you get it right. And so, you know, I think I'm actually not going to I'm not going to fill in the entire area. I'm not going to fill it up here. I'm going to let that be tundra, but I am going to go ahead and fill in this area over here. This area down here, just get some sparse wooded forests, just like that. Just like that. And perfect. Now we're back to filling in those trees. Let's go. This is the last area of trees. I'm fairly certain. I'm not. Don't quote me on that because the mind of an artist is fickle in many ways. Let's break off a section to fill in. I've been doing this, and I haven't really brought attention to the fact that I've been doing this as we crest the 1 hour mark of clicking trees, the video. Is that I've been cordoning off little sections, and I do this all the time when I do art, and it's because I wanna feel like I'm making progress. And if I'm filling in a whole big area, maybe I don't feel like I'm making progress. But if I break that big area down into manageable chunks, suddenly I'm making progress. And you know, maybe I've actually discovered something here. Maybe there's some separation to these clumps of trees, and maybe we do something like this. Oh, how cool will this be? How cool will this be? A little hedge maze of tree. And now I look at that, and now I'm inspired. See, now we found the inspiration for an adventure here, and that's, what is that trail? And that's the question I always like to ask with my maps, or I like for people to ask with my maps is, hey, why does that do that? Why is that way? What is over there that would make that happen? And the answer is, go and find out. Go and find out. And surround this town with trees. Maybe a little bit of a clearing here, just like that. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to add that same little taper that we had before over to the edge. If we zoom out, look at that. Look how great that looks. And I think we barely had to do anything. We barely had to do anything. We just had to sit here and click for an ungodly amount of time. You know, I'm tempted to fill the whole thing in, but I think that you all would kill me if I did that. Instead, however, I am going to just add a little bit of I'm going to take the inspiration from the north and I'm going to move it south. I'm going to take this, I'm just going to make not an entire forest, but patches, little splotches of trees, done in the same style that the forest had been made in. Maybe that'll give us a really cool effect. Maybe that'll look really interesting and cool. Maybe it'll look stupid. I don't know. It's okay to look stupid though. That took me many years to learn, so it's okay to do something that might be a little bit stupid. Look at that, just like that. That works. Then I want to add that same taper that I added to the other side over to here, just to kind of give it a little bit more life. Up here as well, just a little bit more. Perfect. And now we have to find something to do with the remaining space. That is not dense trees. Or maybe it is dense trees. Maybe the point is that we're supposed to be doing dense trees in the entirety of the map, and it would look really good if we did that. Let's just, you know what? Let's lean on our inspiration. Let's lean on what inspires in the moment. And what inspires me in this moment is these little clumps of trees that we've discovered making to kind of give the illusion of patchy forests. And so that we're just going to add a couple of more of these that push up into, maybe there's a real big one here. There's a big patch of trees right here. We can make a nice big section for ourselves. We can cut that section in half. We can fill that section in with the little trees and zoom in again, just to kind of give ourselves a bit more room to work with. Don't want to be making super fine mouse movements, because that would hurt my wrist too much. So instead we're going to zoom right in and we're just going to click trees. All day long we're going to click trees. Maybe I'll add some stragglers around, just to kind of, again, taper the trees off. Just like that. And then we're going to grab our pine tree again, and we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to do it up here. We're going to make little nuggets of trees. Hour and 7 minutes. I am panicking the more I'm looking at that, because I'm thinking, oh god, we have to finish up. But, you know, no, we don't. We don't have to finish up. We finish when I say we're finished. And I'm not finished. This particular map I am not yet done, and thus we will continue to sit here, and I will continue to find something to talk about. I'm sure I'll find something to talk about. Yeah, maybe I can talk about this. I'm very excited. And I think it's good to be excited, because I'm starting a brand new D&D campaign with a brand new campaign setting. So there's going to be some videos on this channel about making the first adventures of that, and then maybe as I DM it, I'll go back and I'll try to learn from my mistakes in the same way that I'm learning from making new maps, and maybe by calling out my own flaws, my own weaknesses, I can gain new strengths and become a better dungeon master, which is always a fun thing to do. Is when you get better at something, it always feels good. But the way to get better at something, the fastest way to get better at something is to do something wrong. And the only time that you'll do something wrong is if you break out of your comfort zone. If you keep doing the same thing that you know works, you'll never get better. Because even though I'm not a fan of this style of map, this style of map doesn't speak to me in any way, shape, or form. If I didn't do this, I wouldn't have learned all these new techniques that I can now employ on other maps, like these patches of trees. I could totally see myself using these patches of trees in a whole lot of things, and they're lovely. I like them. I like them a lot. And you know, maybe now we switch back to the coniferous forest. Just like this, and then maybe we have a little tree ball of coniferous trees over here to break up with the pine trees. Just like that. And you know, if I had never made this map, if I had never said, hey, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to make that tree map, that super dense tree map that I never enjoy the style of. I never would have learned to appreciate this style of map. And now maybe when I see it, I get inspired to come make another one of these, instead of being disappointed that the map could look better in a different style, because everyone has their own style, and I think it's foolish to be disappointed that somebody didn't do something the way that you would have done it. I think it should be the opposite. I think it should be inspiring that somebody did something a different way. Because if everyone did everything the same, then we would never learn. We'd never learn to push our limits. We'd never learn to push ourselves. And so, using this as a catalyst for self-growth is probably the most noble thing I can do. And there we go. We've got those little forests in here, and then I think we do need a dense one, kind of splitting the difference down right here. And you know, maybe I screwed this up a little bit. Maybe this doesn't look as good as it could. If I had done something different, maybe there's a technique that I'm missing. But at the same time, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe this is the map I wanted to make. Maybe this is the map I was destined to make today. I don't believe in destiny, but I do believe that we shouldn't complain about what happens. We should try to either do better or make a difference. And look at that. Look at that. I'm gonna add a little bit of roughage right here. Just adding that little tree ball. And you know, maybe we're gonna marry these two together. Maybe we're gonna do that. We're gonna fill this area in as kind of the last big area to do that for. And so this map has been unique because there's no lakes, there's no rivers, there's no anything. There's nothing. There's just trees everywhere. An hour and a half of clicking trees. Just like that. See, now any area that doesn't have trees in it looks like just glaring open space, and I am not a fan. And I mean, a lot of people will say, and they'll give the advice that you shouldn't make your maps too dense. You should give your players their eyes room to breathe. And certainly when you zoom out, this does not do that. Oh, I forgot about this area up here. We'll get to that in a minute. But you have to think that this is a very simple map. This is forest, this is forest, this is forest, this is forest. So it's not like there's a whole bunch of itty-bitty tiny details like cities and houses and all this other stuff. So I would say that this is probably a very simple map, all things considered. Now let's look up here and let's see if we can't do something with it. So maybe... What does really dense grass look like? Very, very icky compared to... Can I get away with pill trees? Can I get some pill trees? No, those just look too cartoony. Yeah, maybe we go to our mountains. Maybe we go to... No, those are too white. But maybe we do add these hills, the hills that we used in yesterday's video. We just add them over here, like so. And these big swooping dune-like mounds of snow. And then y'all know what's coming next. We grab our pine trees, we zoom in, and we delay the end of this video for yet another pile of trees, as we are going to make a dense forest in the Arctic up here, surrounding these mountains. But I do think that this time it's going to be a little bit different. I'm actually going to up the placement rate and the placement density. I'm going to do this as if it were my normal style of map. I'm going to add some of my normal style into this. I don't really want to hide those trees. But far denser than I would normally. I would normally never add this many trees this dense together. But in this case, I'm going to, because it fits with the rest of the map. Oops, we've been drawing over our symbols. That's not good. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add this here. And you know what I'm realizing now, and hopefully we have enough undos in the bank to do this, is that at some point I scaled down these trees. Oh, there we go. There's the last we could do it. So let's match this tree to that tree all the way up here. There we go. There we go. And let's add some big old trees in here. Let's go with that. Let's go with that and that and that and that and that and that. Maybe not that far down. I am gonna make the trees fit the style of the map a little bit more as we go down, just to kind of blend it. But first things first, let's just get the base shape of these trees in. There we go. There we go. Now we put the placement rate and the placement density all the way down. We zoom in. Maybe we scale down our tree just a little bit and we start adding... Whoops. Saving noise scares me every time. And we start adding a little bit more of a denseness to it to kind of bring it... A density, not denseness. It's denseness. A density to it that'll kind of help tie it to the rest of the map, tie it to the rest of the style. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. Look at that. Let's add some over on the archipelago here, over by the water. Some over here. And then let's add that taper that we've added on the other ones. Just showing that maps like that. And then suddenly, look at that. Look at that. I think that's done. I think that map is done right there, and I think that it has been a very interesting time. This map has no lakes on it. This map has no lakes on it. So really quickly, I want to go back to the water settings. I want to look at the coastline pattern, and I think that the dash pattern is what I want, and then the coastline color is that glow that we see, that really awesome glow. And so yeah, I think, and then the vignette strength. This looks super fantasy to me. And, you know, there's something that I see already that I want to change, and I know. So I want to fill that up real good. Maybe I filled it up too good. There we go, and then I have to zoom in. Can't see. There we go. I think this map would be an awesome addition to any fantasy game that I would run or that I would play in. I absolutely love it. I want to add one thing though. I want to go back to the mountains tab, and I want to add these mountains. I want to shrink them down real low, and I want to. Those are too small. I want to add some of these hills over here to match them to over here, and there we have it. Thank you so much for watching. I apologize for the horrendous length of this video. If you've made it this far, leave a comment with the word duck, D-U-C-K, in the comments down below. And if you're the first person to leave the word duck down at the bottom, I will get in contact with you and I'll give you a copy of Wonder Draft. If I'm able to gift Wonder Draft. If not, then I'll give you like an Amazon gift card or something. Because holy shnikes. It's been an hour and 20 minutes. But yeah, as always with this series, if you enjoy it, please leave a thumbs up. If you want to see a map every day, then don't forget to subscribe. If you want to use this map, you can. You can use it in your RPG game. You can use it in anything. I'm giving the licenses to these maps away. If you do use it in something that you're selling, though, please just at least credit me. Jay the Silent Cartographer, send people my way. But this will be downloadable at the link in the video description. It's an Imgur link, so you don't have to worry about spooky viruses, Imager, whatever you want to call it. And there you will also find every other map in the daily map series. I've been Jay, the Silent Cartographer. This has been one hell of an awesome map to make. This is day 5. And let me just export this really quickly before I forget, or before the Wonder Draft crashes. Day 5. I really, really like this map. Anyways, I'm gonna stop rambling. I will see you guys tomorrow for another map, and I'm not sure what kind of map tomorrow will bring, and so we'll see if I find any inspiration between now and then. Anyways, guys, have a great day, and I'll see you next time.